Hello and welcome to a very disappointing Townham podcast. It's season 2, episode 37. Well, the Saints went to Oriel Park and banished the demons of their past few results and come out on top in the third for Ish's fourth place game tonight. A 2-1 victory for Pats, but the manner of that defeat really does hurt. It's a 93rd minute steal, and they take all points to close the gap back to Dundalk now to 1 point. To go through the game tonight, I'm joined by Gally. Gally, how are you, pal?
Good evening, or semi-good evening, not good evening, whatever way you want to put it. Jesus.
That good evening went downhill very quickly.
Just poor evening. That's probably the
best. Tonight. Look, well, Gary, what did you make of the game before we dissect it, I suppose?
I mean, post-match, frustrated. That's probably the word. You're annoyed. Obviously, you haven't got anything, but it's pure frustration watching what unfolded in the last couple of minutes. I mean, it wasn't an outstanding game of football, but I mean, I thought I don't like to say, oh, you deserve nothing if you don't put the ball in the back of the net. But we on the first probably 20 minutes, without going to it straight away, but I didn't. If you'd watched the first 15, 20 minutes of the match, you would never have thought Pats would have come out with anything at all. Never mind a draw. Look at that James Randall's fella. James, I tell you, that James is a Pats fan. I could get him off this podcast. But yeah, look, it's frustrating. I mean, Pats, like, even if you take the sucker punch at a goal, it's our fault. We had a bad pass, and we've been excellent right up until then. We've had pretty much all the ball. I haven't seen the stats in the match, but we must have had more of possession. But like I keep saying, possession counts for nothing if you don't score. It's just a really frustrating sucker punch at the end. It's like I said to you just off air before we come on. Tim Clancy's face running down the sideline will be etched in my brain until we turn them over again, whether it be Inchicore or Oriel Park or Casey's Field next season. But it's such a frustrating evening to come away. Like, I mean, you would have taken the draw and probably would have been slightly disappointed on the balance of play, but it's such a kick in the teeth, isn't it? It's just like you're coming away from the game and you're kind of thinking, yeah, could have done this, could have done that. But at the same time, you have to admire Pats as well, because they soaked up all that like any pressure we provided, they soaked it up. And it just right at the end, I know, not jumping forward, but I don't know if it's a tactical decision to send people up. Look, we'll get into it in a couple of minutes, but it's a crazy 90 seconds at the end. I mean, you're talking 3 passes of a ball and they've hit the winner, and it's a real kick in the teeth. A real, like, you can just see the Pats empty the bench, everybody into the stand. So look, it's great when it's happening for you, but it's such a disappointing evening. Yeah, frustration. It's pure, probably frustration and anger for probably the first time this season. You're not disappointed, you bet. You're just absolutely ripping that they conceded a last minute winner.
Yeah,
and that would have been the same for Pats if we had done it as well, of course.
Exactly. Well, look, I suppose when you think about it, you're disappointed to lose that game to Pats because of the European place that third holds. You're disappointed losing your unbeaten record at home as well, and then the manner of that late goal to lose the game by, it's a three-way nail. You know what I mean? I suppose we'll go right back to the very start. There was a bit of a surprise last time, maybe that Stephen Bradley was on the bench, but he gets the start tonight. Straight back in here. Had a quieter match tonight, but we were surprised to see that he was straight back in again, and Runner Huga obviously back on the bench.
Yeah, I thought Runner. I thought he would have got I don't know if he got a start, Runner himself, but I'm surprised he didn't come on earlier in the game. I thought Bradley. Look, the problem with Bradley tonight was he's got the opposite side of the pitch in Ryan O'Kane, and it was chalk and cheese. Like, Ryan O'Kane was unbelievable tonight, and then Bradley, I don't know, maybe he had a decent match, and we were comparing him to the left hand side of the field. But for me, he just never really. Look, he had some decent crosses, but I think what benefited him more was John Mountney. So if Mountney's not making the runs, there's nothing actually happening down the right pretty much all night. I know he cuts in. I know he was well known for early in the season cutting in and getting his goals. But it didn't really, like you said, a quieter night tonight.
Yeah.
But like what we've noticed over last week, when Pat Hubin's now playing, both wingers are generally having a quiet night. There just seems to be that little bit of, just that missing. John Martin ran us a bit to the ground, don't get me wrong, but, Bradley had nothing kind of to come in off and feed off, I suppose, coming in, cutting in from the right-hand side.
Yes.
He had a quiet night for me. I'm surprised he stayed on as long as he did. But yeah, definitely a quiet night. But having said that, Pats played really well. I mean, at the back, Pats were solid. I mean, for all the ball we had, they very rarely we couldn't get down the middle of the pitch. We couldn't. Their two centre halves weren't split open the whole night. And Bradley would normally give you that little bit, whereas Rhino came would run at a player, take him on. But yeah, a very quiet night from him. Hindsight's great. Maybe you started with Hag on the right hand side, but on the basis of actual ability, Bradley is probably the better footballer. Well, there's no probably, but he is the better footballer. But given the last couple of weeks, yeah, I wouldn't have argued with Runner maybe starting. I'd even like to see Mountney play right. Just
well,
to get
was there an option to play McCarry?
I mean, that's
Mountney up.
To me, that's a no-brainer after the first half.
Anymore.
Yeah, when you consider how much Mountney got at the ball and got up the field, I would have simply, maybe not at half-time, but you'd have no problem. It's rare you change a fullback when you're going after a game in a second half, but I would have no problem with McCarry coming in there and Mountney moving up the field. I actually think it could have benefited us a little bit. Again, look, hindsight, but I mean, I definitely think Mountney going forward was much more dangerous than Stephen Bradley tonight. But that's just, look, 9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen. It's just all culminated in the game tonight for us in Oriel,
Yeah,
Casey's field. Sorry.
I suppose you mentioned it there already, Gally. We started the game pretty good. I thought there was a lot of pressing on it. You could see what Skip's plan was. As soon as they had the ball in the back four, it was put them under pressure straight away. There was a man up to them fairly quickly for it as well. But then I suppose we were guilty of 1 or 2 sloppy passes, and that's exactly what happened for their first goal. Sam Brown with a very, very sloppy pass that gets picked off. Now it's a great finish in the end by Forrester. Could the defenders got across a bit quicker? It looked like Andy Boyle kind of stalled a little instead of just maybe throwing himself in front of the ball with everything he had. But those sort of balls they're suicide if you get them wrong. Crossfield ball like that, it has to go to the player. If it doesn't, you leave yourself open to that, don't you?
Yeah, and it's a really poor crossfield ball. It's only I was in the stand. It actually looked on the replay. It actually looks a lot worse than it actually was in real time. It's such a bad pass. Like, it's so far ahead of Mountney. It's frightening. But at the end of it, he still has to come in. He still has to come that far. He's run maybe 20 yards with the ball. He's passed it off. It's like them looking at us. Players you don't want having the ball in or around the box. Keith Ward for us. Chris Forrester for Pats. You don't want to give them time. And he actually was able to take a touch out of his feet and just absolutely leather in the top corner. Could the keeper maybe a little bit far off the line? I don't know. But yeah, look, players you don't want the ball dropping to is Chris Forrester. I definitely think they've stepped off him. They've given him a little bit too much respect. Maybe they weren't expecting to hit. I don't know. But like, what they have to remember is, like, look, hindsight, we're watching the game after, but we're talking about the match. But we've had that much of the ball. We've run them ragged. Of course, they're going to take a pot shot when they get it. It's the only chance they've had. They're obviously going to take it on. If it falls at our feet the other way around, Keith Ward, Robbie Benson, Greg Sloggett, whoever it is, will take a pot shot because they're not getting anything. They're not getting around our fullbacks. They're not getting a lot of pressure on the goalkeeper. I mean, they've scored twice, but, Sheps has nothing to do tonight, really. I mean, there's not a lot, apart from come out off his line quick. He hasn't a lot to do. So when they got that opportunity, you got to close them down. You're like, I mean, look, we've spoken about the centre halves enough this season, but that's 101 stuff. That's that's simple. Close the player down with the ball. I mean, we've said it here before. Like, if you're the closest player to an opponent with the ball, close them down. And it goes in between the two centre halves as well. Could have been a little bit tighter to each other even. Yeah. Look, hindsight's great, but yeah, they've got to close them quicker. Take nothing away from the strike. I mean, look.
No, I think the strike is
fantastic. Yeah.
After that, Gally, there's a couple of half chances. We start seeing Greg Sloggett coming into the game a lot more, even to the point where, I thought for a second the keeper, he had spilled it, and I think if it had gone anywhere else in the box, it was a tap in. For some, we were starting to eke our way back into that game, but then Greg pulls up, and I felt we actually lost that early momentum we had when he went off. As well, and in particular in the second half, it was very evident. I felt that you missed Greg's energy at times in that second half. He was a big loss though in the game, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, look, many times have we spoken about Greg Sloggett this season, and he's the player we never expected him to be. He's that box to box. He was never really a box to box. He was kind of like, I compared him to Michael Carrick. He was kind of just like on the ball, pass, distribute, get back into space. But like we mentioned earlier in the season, like, or even last season, but missing a player like Robbie Benson, Chris Shields.
Yeah.
The next 50 odd minutes, whatever unfolded with Greg Sloggett, like, how bad are we missing him? It takes nothing away from, you got a player like Robbie Benson coming off the bench. But for me, what I was saying, I was actually saying, Jerry McNamee, crossbar challenge king. He didn't hit the crossbar half time either. But I was talking about the match, and he was saying Lewis doesn't provide, a very good technical football, but doesn't provide enough for me when he's watching the game, if that makes sense. So when he doesn't have the ball, we were speaking with Ken and the boys as well. He just doesn't do enough for me. He doesn't cover enough ground. And look, he's quick. He's very technically gifted. But for me, when you miss a player like Sloggett, and you obviously don't have a Chris Shields, or like even a Sam Bone, I know he's a pretty poor night in my opinion, but someone like that in midfield to kind of break it up a little bit, and we just lacked that when Greg was off the field. Look, Benson's only done very well, but a player going off like that, I mean, with enough injuries to be worrying about. I don't know what the injury is, but I mean, with 4 odd games to go in the season, it's just not ideal time, and it really isn't. Like, we're bet down with injuries at the minute, and a player like Greg, like, I mean, he's arguably been, next to the keeper, he's probably been one player of the season, maybe. He's right up there for well, definitely for the town end anyway. I don't know about the club, but he's been outstanding. But look, when you lose someone like that, I mean, like, I just seen Frank's comment there, robbed is the word. Like, I mean, you do feel robbed, even though they've hit you for 2 goals, you haven't taken your chances. It's probably the biggest sucker punch of the season. I don't think we've had a game like this all season, and all the draws and the defeats we've had. That really was really just shocking. A real frustrating and angry game now to come home to after that. We're probably better off not doing a live one. But why change the habit of a lifetime? But exactly. Really frustrated.
After 2 seasons that we can't change it. I think look, it's definitely a sucker, and like I say, we don't need another injury at this time of the year. I have a funny feeling though, Greg looks like he's probably been patched up a few times this year, and I wonder, is it just maybe all of those injuries just adding up, and it could just be a strain, or it's something like that has probably just kind of pushed it over in the end.
Yeah.
But there was, Gally, a bright moment just before halftime, a moment I'm sure Ryan's been waiting for quite some time, to get a goal at home in Casey's Field. For that feeling, he milked it with all. But credit where credit's due. He done a lot of this work himself, and we've seen him get into these positions before, and the goal we all felt was coming did come tonight.
Yeah, and like. I don't think I've leapt up out of my seat as much, and what's worse was where I sit in the stand, I couldn't actually see the full goal, so I just seen it go past the pillar and then into the bottom corner. Outstanding. Like, I mean, that, like, he looks like tonight was the first night I thought this boy is proper outstanding. Like, I mean, I know we've waxed lyrical about him, but he was absolutely unbelievable tonight. Like, there's times, like, it's cliche, he was unplayable at times. Fullback, the boys were twisted inside out of him. His footwork is, like, him and Keith Ward, like, if you get to them for 90 minutes together, imagine the damage they do. But he was outstanding, well deserved, great finish. I mean, he probably could have had 2. He's had one really early on.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, and so quick, like, so fast. I mean, like, what is he? Still 19. Like, he's probably 14, really. But I mean, like, and he looks he reminds you kind of, I remember John Mouton, he signed for the club, and he was kind of slight and skinny and didn't really look like, he was going to get stuck in too much, but he's looking like a proper footballer now, wears that jersey well, and he's outstanding. Look, we've spoken about him enough times on this, but delighted that he scored, especially, over to the shell and that kind of side, exactly. Fantastic. Yeah, great finish, great for him, great for the club. And the issue we're going to have now is hanging on to him. That's going to be the problem. I don't know what kind of price you put on a player like that, but 4 million I'd be looking for anyway, at least.
I think the thing about it is, and you were talking about, probably for Chris Forrester's goal, did we back off too much? I think that's exactly what happened with the Pats. Nobody wanted to go to him because they know how tricky of a player is, and the closer he gets to the box, if you dive in on him, you're either going to give away a penalty, you're running the risk of a red card, or another booking or something like this. And I think that's probably in the defender's head, and he takes advantage of it. And that's what a good player does. They take advantage of those situations. And he's seen the gap. He went for it. He knew the keeper was going to be blindsided by those defenders in front of him. The fact that none of them had closed him down quick enough, he opens his body into the space and bends it around the far side. I think the fact that it takes a bounce before going in, it took even longer to go in, and I'm sure for him it felt like an eternity. Is this going to go?
It seemed to take forever.
His angles were absolutely perfect and just inside the post.
Yeah, and I even think the Pats, just when you mentioned them backing off him, they probably didn't even expect the shot. They probably expect him to come a little bit forward, dancing around to them again.
Yeah,
and then take a shot on, but they probably weren't even expecting it. And that's the intelligence of, that's that other level of intelligence where you say, right, you see the gap, you only need a split second to think about it, and that's the difference. Whereas some players, it happened a couple of times, like some players just, instead of coming in on their instep, well, man, they just play the ball wide all the time and get another pass and look, take the chance when it goes. Chris Forrest's had a pot shot, Ryan's done the same, 2 goals. I mean, look, you live and learn, I suppose, but that you take your chances when they're there, and that's what he done.
Exactly. Look, we're now thinking, hey, we're going into halftime. It's 1-1. We're back in this game, for all the possession. And I think at halftime it was pretty 50-50 possession wise from any of the stats I did see. And you would say probably on the balance of play, fair enough, maybe. But we have ourselves back in this. It's a draw. It's probably up to Pats now to open us up and try to get it. In the second half, though, I felt we were very, very flat. I thought whether John Martin had just run himself into the ground, I thought the McMillan substitution probably could have come a little bit earlier. When Wardy come on, Wardy was doing his Wardy things, but for all his energy, there was nothing else on the team around him. Giving him that, one too many overhit crosses from both wings. Tonight, set pieces, we're still not. We used to be one of our number one threats. Was no one even wanted a bloody corner against us because Andy Boyle, Craig Gartland, we're towering headers and we were scoring, but we don't look to be doing too much from set pieces anymore. And I just felt like as it was going on, that there was large portions of that second half that we were quite flat.
Oh yeah, big time.
And that seemed to give Pats that energy, and you could see Barry Cotter coming more and more into the game. And that right hand side the ball just seemed to be stuck over there. On the stand side in the second half, and I think Barry Cotter wanted to go on one of his amazing runs again, and thankfully that never came off for him tonight. But I kept thinking, why on earth has he got so much time over there? Why is there an overlapping player every single time over there?
It was crazy. He was on the stand in the second half. He was on my ice. Absolutely mental the amount of space he had. Criminal. And don't get me wrong, he was excellent. Really their player of the match probably. But just crazy. It's no secret. You could see after 10-15 minutes what he was like. I just couldn't I couldn't wrap my head around the fact that nobody was able to pick him up. It was just absolutely fine. Look, at Lee, he got stuck in when he could, but he was outstripped. There's not many players that'll outstrip Darrell Lee with a football at their feet. And he was stripping him, not all the time, but most of the times he had the run on him. It was Mountney on our side. He was their version, but simple stuff. Not even a midfielder running riot. Their fullback was running riot and creating all sorts of problems. And when you mentioned free kicks, they had an absolute zing of a free kick, and it's Chris Forrester's hairline away from getting the touch on it. It's probably 2-1 early doors, and you probably would have accepted that more than what happened later on.
Absolutely,
but definitely flat in the side. I actually think both teams were. If you compare the second half of the first half, so the last maybe 15 minutes for Pats, they were pretty flat in the second half as well. I was expecting an equaliser just before halftime. No better time to equalise apart from the last minute of a game. It's probably no better time. Motivate the players halftime, get out, do the same. All they had to do was repeat what they'd done, and it just seemed to be. It's not even that Pats came more into it. We just seemed to be hell bent on taking 400 passes when 2 would have done it. And it was ruining the game. They were overthinking everything. And that was the fear. I said it to Jerry beside me, even when we were 1-0 down, don't change what we're doing. Just keep it the same. The goals are there. But it just seemed to be not downhill, but it just seemed to get level off really early. Within 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, it just looked like, Jesus, we're not going to. They haven't carried this momentum forward into the second half at all. And like the funny thing is, if they win in 1-0 at half time, they probably wouldn't have equalised. They probably would have stayed like that because that's the way they would have come out in the second half, and we would have got nothing out of it. But it's just, like we talked about Sloggett. Like if you look at Pat, like even Pat's midfielders, they're pretty poor. They're not great. I mean, how they've amassed so many points is frightening. But ours just seem to just give them. I don't know if we devoid of ideas, but it would just seem to be, like you've said, flat. They look just lethargic, but they weren't, if you get me. Like it just looked like that from the game, watching the game in real time. But we just seem to be just so standoffish. Just, look, it was such a weird second half. When you compare the first half, look, I just see Martin flash up there, John Martin as well. Look, if there was ever an example, and John ran himself into the ground, he'd remind you Kevin McDavid McMillan when he would have played for Pat. But if there's ever a game where you're missing Pat Hooban, tonight's the night. Like of all, like that game tonight in particular, and we've said it, we've had some bad results this season, but that game tonight was crying out for Pat Hooban, absolutely crying out for him to bring the wingers into the game, to bring the midfielders in. Like you said, you mentioned Keith Ward there. What I noticed when Keith Ward came on, the pep and the steps seemed to go up.
Was actually playing okay tonight.
Yeah, and everybody else for the first maybe 5 minutes he was on the field, everybody seemed to go up a level because Wardy's on the field, we know what he can give us. And then he didn't get enough of the ball. They didn't give him enough of the ball. He was crying for the ball, I don't know how many times, and they just didn't see him.
Yeah.
Like Adams had 1 or 2 passes on to Bradley in the first half and went for Ryan O'Kane instead. When Ryan O'Kane was the more awkward pass. Silly little things, but like you can see Wardy when he comes on gives people that kind of lift, but it just didn't.
It just didn't click tonight.
No, it just didn't seem to happen. The second half in particular just did not seem to happen at all. There's we talk about passes. Some of the passing was really like. Dundalk are notorious for having either a cracking game for passing or there's no in between with them. Like I've mentioned Sam Bone before, he'd remind you of Dan Cleary. I keep saying it. Dan Cleary, the old Dan Cleary, could be a superstar centre half and then goes and kicks the ball into the windscreen of a car. That's just, it's crazy the in between with them. And, when you've got Boyle then, who would be a little bit, not slow, but a little bit on the slower side than what he would have been, but still all upstairs. It's still there, but it's a dodgy combination sometimes. I just see the man in the match is flying in. Are we doing a pizza? I don't know if we announced that. Excuse me for rambling. But,
I don't know. There's enough gone in for it. But
I think it's an obvious one.
It's all going one way, mind you. I haven't seen anyone else.
I don't think it's going to go too further than that.
No.
We can't give it the car from Pats.
Yeah, we might just pick random comments tonight. Ronan Coleman there with just a point on it, and I think he's right. Pretty much on what you just mentioned there as well. Bar O'Kane, we probably had nothing else up top. We've talked about Bradley, didn't seem to be in it tonight. Martin kind of he huffed, he puffed, he tried to get himself in the right areas, but not enough shots, not working. Their keeper enough,
but not enough. Even there wasn't enough play through the middle of the field
from Hooban, isn't it? Though?
Yeah, there was nothing.
Bring others into the game
exactly, and that's what was missing. Like they couldn't get the ball, they couldn't play it in behind for something. It's 2 centre halves that have nailed the whole night. But there wasn't enough play in the middle of the park. Everything was wide because Pat Hooban wasn't there. And it's not so much John's fault, but Pat's been missing for a couple of weeks now. Like they should have this nailed. I mean, if it's not working with John, put Ryan O'Kane in the middle. I know he's not a striker, but you're playing with a false nine, whatever way they want to call it. But something like that won't work as it sits at the minute.
Gary, if you think of Pat's goal against Rovers at home that time, where he picks up the ball in the pocket in the middle. Sprays the ball out wide, and he absolutely kills himself to get into the box because Vicari knows exactly where that ball needs to go in and knows where that player is going. We pull the defender out. We've an energetic and a smart playing centre half in Hooban who wants to get on the end of it. Just didn't seem to be somebody who just went, play it through me. I want everything. We're working it out to the wing where and then we're just overhitting crosses back and forth like. I never really remember us when Pat Hooban's on the pitch working it to the sideline and then chipping a high ball in. Like we never.
I think the relationship with Pat and everybody, they all knew where to be. It was almost second nature. It's particularly over the last, even in the Kenny era, going back that far. Going back a little bit, but there was that kind of, almost kind of just telepathic way between them, but. It's not John's fault. John's comes in and look, he's run himself in. He reminds you of Dave McMillan. But like you said, Dave McMillan coming off the bench with what was there 10 minutes?
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, but like that, like to leave when you need a goal, to leave a player like, I know he's not in the game all the time, he doesn't start matches, but to have a player like that on the bench, you'd probably could have come on maybe with 25 minutes to go, really.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
we're not
probably
blessed with options.
just freshen it up just to give us something.
Yeah, exactly. Give something else to look for. He'd be more of a focal point, I suppose, with an aerial threat. But yeah, look, I mean, look, it's not John Martin's fault. He's just not that type of player. But
yeah, no, it's just we had a system that suited the likes of Pat Hoobin so much, and when he's not in that team, then it's very evident we just tell the truth. I'm just annoyed at this result tonight.
It is, and it's like everybody's the same. Like the silence from the crowd, the stand tonight. I know everybody gets the dog crowd's obviously silent when they concede goals, but there was a different kind of silence tonight. There was like almost like I'm fed up with this. Not that it happens all the time. It was just like, and there was no kind of, I know it's last minute, but there's no kind of, we might equalize here. We might. There was none. They knew it was just one of them. No, they're not. That like. No, we'll talk about the goal. We'll talk about the goal.
We might as well get into it now.
Yeah, like I mean, it's mental how it happens. Like Ryan O'Kane has about a foot wrong the whole night. The pass was, I'm not going to lie, I don't know who gives it the pass. I don't know if it zipped across him, but it's just a heavy touch. And you're talking, if I remember correctly, it's probably it's probably 4 passes and it's in the back of the net. Like they've put everybody forward for a free kick. I don't know why. I mean, I'm all for people going for like,
who actually had that goal.
Yeah, I'm all for enthusiasm of going for the win, but look, was it really needed? Because you're taking the draw. Hindsight has, yes, of course you could have, but like to be allowed to run that far uninhibited, like nobody, the Dundalk players didn't touch the ball after Ryan O'Kane. It tipped off his foot into the left or to the right. No, the Dundalk players didn't touch the ball. The next person touched it was the keeper taking it to the back of the net.
Yeah,
and that's probably more criminal than anything.
The length of the pitch,
because Pats have only had 2 shots. Like, but they've 2 shots and they scored twice.
I think it's Robbie Benson plays in.
Or is it? Sorry, I thought it was actually Leahy. I'm surprised. I didn't even know it was Robbie Benson.
I think so.
Haven't seen the replay.
Yeah, cameraman.
I won't be looking at the replay though. But to go that far, look, I think I can see Tim Clancy like running the field. Oh God.
When I suppose, look, on their point of view, it's a brilliant counter.
Oh, yeah.
For our own point of view, though, it's you're going into the 93rd minute. A draw suits us so much more than it suits them. Did we need to go forward with it? Could we just have run down the clock?
Yeah, we could have ran down the clock. I actually think I didn't time any. I don't time it, but I actually think they took the free kicks too fast. No, I could be wrong. To me, they looked at it a little bit too quick. They could have just waited a little bit. They were rushing.
Yeah,
they seemed to be rushing like we were chasing it. Like we were chasing it.
Time management in the game is exactly what we need.
I mean, just watch the clock. I mean, the clock's massive. Just have a look at it. Like even Wardy's ball in for one of his free kicks. I don't think it needs to travel that far. I think you could have passed it off, maybe try to walk it around them. Look, I like direct football, but I don't think there's time and a place. And look, again, I'm talking about hindsight. We're here after a defeat. But I think, like time management, even tactic, like, they've left Alfie Lewis at the back. Why not square it to him and get him a pot shot away in the bit? Why not? Why set all this, all the defenders up? Look, we blew in the face talking about it, but it's for the last minute.
Yeah, I just think, exactly. It's
like put it to you like this: if I can't remember the player's name that runs the number 7, but if he comes up against John Mountney, he doesn't get that far. John Mountney cuts him in half. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to run that far. Take the card. Take a red card if you're on the yellow. It's unfortunate, but that's
by the player. Nice, but by the time John Mountney gets over to the player, and then there's an overlap. Then I think it's Tunde on Owolabi. Then and I think he's kind of caught in between both of them.
Yeah,
and to be fair,
it's such a straightforward ball.
If I go on that player, he just plays it outside me, and I look like a fool for diving in too early. He was trying to stand up and make his body make him play it, make him make a decision, I suppose, for it. But look, it's just disappointing, I suppose, that the draw suited us. We kept a 4-point gap. It gave us a cushion of in these next 4 games. And we'll start talking about that. And I think we could, there's a conversation maybe about our referee tonight as well. I think it's still ours to lose at a point, but I think Pat's all the time would have thought, we need them to mess up twice.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Now that momentum is gone. It's, that little cushion to have there. We've seen Finn Harps lose tonight, but it's never easy to go to Ballybuffet. Let's be fair. And I nearly feel it's ever since we looked at the fixtures and we say, Jesus, I certainly hope that Derry game isn't important because I don't want to go to the Brandywell in the last game of the season. Now you're thinking, oh, it's definitely going to come down to that. And is it going to be a game where Derry still have a chance to win the league?
Yeah, I had a discussion to stand earlier on. Where, they're going to be going for the league, or they could be in the cup final. So that would all play into who they're going to play. Will they risk an injury? Will they risk? Look, they won't be better by Dundalk anyway. But yeah, it's one of those. It simmers it nicely. Because Derry are only one of we talking 5. Is it 5 points off? It's 5 points in the difference. So everything all even. So yeah, look. You're hoping they're not going for the league at that stage, and they're in the cup final, and they're thinking to that only. But yeah, it's going to be. I didn't know it would go that far, but it's going to be tight. It definitely is.
It's like I say,
because we spoke about our mini league last week, 2 weeks ago, and it's taking a bit of a blip now tonight.
Yeah, I suppose
it's not disastrous. It's not disastrous. I mean, but like the boys have said there, like Gavin has said there, Gavin Moore. Look, I think if nothing else, it should spare them. Like they shouldn't do that twice. That's the only thing. Like O'Donnell will only let them do that once.
Yeah.
Hopefully, and look, they'll have a right go at it next week. And their training they might be running a couple of extra kilometers in training after that. But you'd hope they'd be okay. You'd hope it'll be that all season now.
Frank Harlan has put together just the run in for the both teams there. So we play Finn Harps away, Sligo Rovers at home, Bows at home before going on the last game of the season then to Derry. Could a lot be done at that stage, do you think? Could we, you won't be sitting waiting. We, Sligo have a and Bows have a, interest in both parties here. It's, they play Bows at home, they play Shamrock Rovers away, Sligo away, and then Shells at home.
Yeah, the Derry Rovers match, the Rovers match and Shells as well, but the Derry Rovers match could be massive. Could be a really big, it's a big game anyway. But I mean, like you've just said there, I'm going to go Finn Harps away. Like nobody wants to go. Like if you could, you'd play Finn Harps in your first 3 games of the season, 1 week after another, get them out of the way, get them done. Like you don't want to be playing them at this stage. Nobody wants to play them. But yeah, look, I mean, look, they look decent. I mean, like we'd said here a couple of weeks ago, we don't want it to go to the Derry game ideally. I mean, look, for a neutral, it's great.
Yeah.
But, we kind of wanted it done, but we could be playing Ian Ryan by the sounds of Ian Ryan's Bohemians team in a couple of weeks, so they'll be well up for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's not an ideal scenario to be going to Finn Harps. Finn Harps at Oriel even is tough enough. But look, you've got an away game against Finn Harps, tough game, but you'd still expect it. So we've got 2 home matches. It's like we're talking about a 6-game league. It's now down to a 4-game league, but we've kind of dismissed the 2 games it's gone before. Look, it's just I just can't wrap my head around what happened in Oriel Park. I really can't. It's so.
Well, the only good thing is Donald's decided to join us tonight and try to make sense of it all. Donald, you're very welcome.
Are we going to try to make sense of him?
Yeah, I this might be a mistake. I'm not going to lie. How are we, boys?
Heartbroken.
Annoyed.
Yeah.
What do we think?
Look, I don't know if I'm probably gonna step on stuff that you guys have already said. But that is an absolutely gigantic kick in the pants. Probably haven't said it in those words, but
pretty much
close to it.
Yeah, I mean, we were about 15 seconds away from, like, yeah, we'll take it, we'll keep going. But look, there's a lot to try and unpick from all of that happened tonight. But I guess there's positives and negatives that can't be ignored either way. But yeah, bit of a pisser, all right, I have to say.
I just see a couple of comments. We haven't even mentioned the ref yet.
No,
That's what I'm here for. Because I was like, someone said there's a refereeing display that needs to be discussed, and like the bat signal went up. The bald head and the beard went up into the sky. That like, yeah, get on and talk about that referee.
okay, well, Damien McGrath was our referee tonight. Let's discuss then.
And like I try to avoid having a go at refs because it sounds like sour grapes because when we're rather been beaten. But my God, like I'd like to know how much influence. Sorry, Don. I know I know you're getting it. How much influence does a linesman have, a linesperson have on a game? Because like some of the free kicks weren't free kicks. Some of the there's like 2 yellow cards. Definitely one, if not 2 yellow cards that were never yellow cards. I think they were actually one for Pats players, and I need to argue that. There was one or two penalties. There was a handball within about 40, 50 seconds of the game. Wasn't given. I'm beginning to wonder is it just offside? Is that all they're there for? I don't know. Like, I'd like to get in. I might do a course in assistant refereeing, but it's so poor, isn't it? Jesus, it's.
Gally, I think we would all pay like enormous amounts of money to get you to be a lines person in Oriel some night. In case you feel
we get the GoFundMe. Get the GoFundMe going.
The biggest thing you can say is that like both teams can be very aggrieved with decisions that were made, like some absolutely fucking baffling decisions. But there was one of the ones in the second half. I think it was a foul on Robbie Benson, and some players who were in the stand behind me were shouting incredibly loudly that it was a yellow card, but shouting it like directly at the referee, like they could hear them.
Right,
the referee can't hear it, and then you're like, how is that not a yellow card?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not going to make it. Well, it is going to make an impact on the game, but you just got to be like, you got to just set yourself and be like, I'm not going to try and figure out what's a yellow card in a League of Ireland match. I'm not going to try and figure out what's a handball in a League of Ireland match, even if it's against Dundalk, even if I'm pretty sure there was some decisions that should have gone against us that didn't. You're just like, I'm not even going to bother trying to figure this out anymore. It's a minefield.
He was bad. He was bad for both. We're not trying to say like he was bad.
Yeah.
He was bad. Yeah. He was bad.
I think you could see the frustration on Robbie Benson's face, was it? Because I think he was near chopped down twice off the ball stuff. Like there was loads of off the ball stuff that just never happened. And I think the ref was maybe watching the play, watching where the ball was, and then he turned around and go, "Oh, why is that person under ours? Like, what the hell happened there? I'm not giving anything. I'll play on." And then, like you just mentioned, Donald, for any sort of contact, it was a free kick straight away. But it seemed like you could chop people down, you could do something else, and then the waving goes on. And it just didn't make any sense. They were stopping for the needless fouls to stop any sort of flow in the match, and that really in the second half showed, because we were just talking, Donald, the second half just was so flat at times, and I think that was a lot of frustration because we were stopping for small, silly little niggle fouls when we possibly could have allowed play to go on, and then for really important decisions, so just no decision made at all.
Yeah, it was just strange.
I think for Wardy's free kick, lads, it just galled me. He marked Wardy for his free kick and then said, "Right, leave it there." Walked over to the wall and then turned back to Wardy and says, "Move the ball back." So Wardy moves it back a couple of inches. He said, "Move it back again." And Wardy's going, "Okay, I have." He turns around to the wall, "Move it back." And he's like, "Oh, come on!" Like he moved it maybe half a foot in the end. Like, did that really make that much of a difference?
Do you know what I was thinking at the time when the referee kept telling him to move the ball back? I'm like, this is injury time. Like, the length of time that he's going to take to get this free kick off, that's going to be at the end. Yeah. Now, like, at the time, I'm like, I'm okay with Wardy wasting time. I think everybody was okay.
Yeah, but he had to blow the whistle. He's going to add this on.
Yeah, like, it's just.
Yeah. I think, we were just talking about game management. Really, what Wardy needs to do is run up like he's about to swing that in and just roll that straight back to Andy Boyle or something in the middle and just say, let's just recycle a go again, to put that ball into the box, to give possession away. We retained it again. Then we lose it with the Ryan O'Kane tackle, and 4 passes later, it's in the back of the net.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you have went through the goals and discussed the goals and stuff, but the incident or the build up to the winning goal, if Ryan O'Kane controls that in the box and gets a shot away and either scores or gets a corner or something, we're all going to talk about how brave the team were and how that's how you win the football match, by taking up a scruff of the net from trying to win. Now, it's a really delicate balance, because when you look back and you're like, there are 3 defenders.
Yeah.
Everybody else is up at the edge of the box.
Yeah.
So it's like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Like if you score that goal, it's the attacking intent and all that kind of stuff. That's how you've cemented your European place. But when the bounce of the ball goes against you, or it touches a little bit heavy and you get caught at the other end, it makes you look silly for having even attempted to try and win the game in the first place. But it's a strange one, because you're looking at it like, why is there so many players out of position? Why is there so many players up the field? But you're really, really close to scoring a winning goal that just cements your European place. So I don't know. It's a tough one.
Yeah, but do you not need your captain Andy Boyle saying, "Hang on a second, lads, it's still a 4-point gap, and they still have to do everything here." That'll sicken them too.
Yeah. You're not wrong. That's the thing. Either way of looking at it, I think if we score that goal, I don't think any of us are thinking, why is there so many players forward? It's only because we got caught on the counter-attack. And I know that might sound really reductive, because we did get caught on the counter-attack, and we are looking at why is there so many players.
Yeah.
But you're really, really close to just finishing the season in one move. But yeah, it's from being in the bar after an Oriel, this conversation could literally last about 3 days of what we should have done and how we got caught out. There's just I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. I think you can look at it like, we shouldn't have got caught out because we shouldn't have got caught out.
Yeah.
But then you're also on the verge of finishing the season and being an attacking team in control of the game and stuff. So yeah, I'm not sure.
Look, I as I said, we when I was talking to Niall Newbury last week, we said that this game had a lot on it, because a draw left at 4 points, which left a small little wiggle room for ourselves, that if we were to drop points somewhere, we'd still be in relative control. If they win, it goes to 1 point. You literally cannot afford any more slip-ups. If we had a 1 and it went to 7, it probably knocked the stuffing out of them, and they would have thought, what's the chances that they will mess up 2 to 3 times in 4 games? Pretty unrealistic, you would have said, because one more victory probably would have just sealed it off, and that would have been it. Unfortunately, we're now staring down the barrel of the worst case scenario in that. Now I know we're still a point ahead, and we'll, if we were told that we going into the last 4 games we were a point ahead and we were still sitting third in the league, we'll take it, and that's always been what we wanted. But it's just,
if we were told that 3 weeks ago, would be ridiculous.
and this is the thing, our form, and you take in everything else as well. What was their blip? A 4-all draw. We've lost.
Yeah.
It let's take it this way. If it would have been a bigger blip for them if they had played 3 games and only had 2 points out of it. It's a harder motivation for them if that's the case. He can turn around now and say that he's got 4 points in those 3 games, and he's banging this. Towards ourselves, we're now a little bit of soul searching now, to find this, because we can't afford to it's ours to lose. you know, and it's a very, very hard thing, isn't it, Gally? You know, when you've had it for so long, and to see that there's a very strong chance that someone could take this off, it's hard to take, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's. I think that's what annoys us. That's why we come on here and we're like absolute nettles for 47 minutes on a podcast. Like that's the first, because we, like I was actually saying to Jerry tonight, you know, we had built ourselves up. I blame Steph McKevin for this. We had built ourselves up so high early in the season with the pod. Now, look, everybody ran away with themselves, but the squad we had, when you think of the player, like, you know, everybody fit, and look, we go on about the other fella that Donald doesn't like to mention, but it's just like, I mean, obviously third, fantastic, but it's the way they're doing it. They're making us really, we're fingernails hanging on here at the minute. Like, the real worry is now, if they don't get a result, is it next Friday night? Are we on next Friday? Or is it Monday? No, it's Friday, is it?
Yeah.
Like, if it happens to go a bit astray against Finn Harps, Pats will be galloping behind. Like, Pats should be fighting with Sligo. I'm just looking at the points. Like, if Pats and Sligo should be closer than what we are now. It's mad. But that's the danger, because our blips are magnified. Like you were saying, our little stumble, they're magnified because we were so far up not far up the league, but we'd accumulated so many points early in the season.
Yeah.
And now we're scraping. You know, we're really at the bottom of the barrel now. And the next couple of games, like I said earlier on, this 6-game league has now turned into an even smaller, miniature 4-game league. And I'd even write off the Derry games. You don't really want it to come down to that one. You wanted these wee nice 3 matches we have coming up. That's where it is. That's where it all hinges on. Because you don't want it to go to the Derry match, but it might. It's just really. Well, they're so angry over it.
Right. So if let's play a game where we try to look at their fixtures, not ours. I'm not playing that one. What was at home for them?
3 points.
All right, Donald's gone it. So 3 points to get it.
3 points. You have to be that. That's 3 points.
Unless Bulls get a manager in. Ooh.
Yeah,
but
I think there's no
contract next year.
Yeah, I still can't see there being enough momentum to like that. Like it said to me earlier on, if Pats had beaten Shelves on Monday night 5-4, they would have come into tonight on an unbelievable hype, but they didn't. Yeah. But now they should have gotten that kick from tonight's game going into the rest of their fixtures. It's sorry to jump ahead, Chris. It's the Rovers one.
Okay, well, Rovers is the next game. Rovers away in Tala.
Yeah.
Rovers now, at least with Derry putting pressure on them, they do have something to play for.
My old friend Sean Gannon and Richie Tell and
they're buddies.
Yeah, I've been talking about them all season. I haven't refused to mention their names.
Oh, don't forget them.
Oh, Jesus Christ, who could forget? And you see, the thing is, like, the way the fixtures have lined up, that like they get their, we'll say, not impossible to win, but their most difficult fixture comes then, whereas ours comes at the end. Mm-hmm. So there's a tiny little bit of possible breathing space if. Well, that's the
all right. Actually,
the big if is.
I'm going to make it really, really, really interesting, right? So we've given 3 points to Pats for their game at home to Bows. What are we giving us for our away game at? We're going to go through each picture. This will be only hilarious. Like,
Gally, go for it, Gally.
Can we get a win in Ballywood?
No, I don't know if we can. I don't know if we can go up there, because we are notoriously, when it comes to these shit slippery bananas, we fall all over them. Like, if we drew tonight, I probably would have took another draw next week. But
if anyone watching currently wants to put in a points total for the last 4 games of Dundalk and Pats, we will bring you in then as part of this. This is better, lads, than a pizza for.
Well, yeah, what you'd be hoping for is that. And look, I think I've said this before.
I'm just going to throw up Frank's comment
tonight's result.
So everyone knows the fixtures.
So tonight's result, only for Frank. See what you started here, Frank.
Yeah.
Tonight's result like, I mean, it really should spare them on for next. Spur them on. Like, they can't repeat that. They can't.
No,
Not so much the performance.
Are we getting what are we getting out of that horse fight? This is the game.
If I'm doing predictions now for next week, I think it'll be 1-1.
Okay, draw. Donald, don't make me have to make a decision between two years.
No, look, I have lots of thoughts about next week.
I'm hoping one of them is an answer to my question. That'd be good.
No, I'm going to do the same thing Gally did. Gally waited about 10 minutes before he gave an answer. I'm going to do the same thing. I for the life of me, I can't see where goals are coming. So if we can get a win that's 1-0,
go on.
I'll take a 1-0. I'll say a 1-0 win. I mean,
So
I'm not even 100% confident. I've just said it, but
you might put us down for 1 or 3. Okay, I'll tell you what, lads. I'm going to go with Gally on this because it's an away one or away form. I know we that's one of the only 2 games we've won away, and was 1 of 3, should I say? It was up there, but yeah, okay. I'm going to go 1. So that would put it going into the next round of fixtures. The Pats would be ahead by 2 points, correct? No,
that'd be right.
If they beat Bows.
Yeah.
But you had 1 point ahead.
1 point ahead. 1 point ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have a consonant, please, Carol.
We're playing Sligo.
No,
1
point, yeah.
They are away in Tala.
That's the night.
There could be a big shift on that night. Yeah, he's right.
That's the thing. If depending on how the results go, the Finn Harps result. Oh Jesus, Ollie,
we're done there. So let's go. What do we get out of Sligo, and what did they get in Tala?
Home win.
Yeah, I think we'll beat Sligo. Yeah.
I think
both games
home win.
We're
not going to play well, but we'll end up with 3 points
somehow.
And the result in Tala?
Home win.
It'll be hockeyed.
Okay, home win.
4-0 the Rovers.
Right, which means it swings back to a 2-point lead for ourselves. Now we're into.
Oh, Frank's put a right spanner on the walks there on the comments.
Sligo. This is the round I think that could be.
Yeah, I mean that's what you said. If it's Ian Ryan's Bows, and then is that the same week they play Sligo? Is that right?
Yeah, they're
away. That could be a big. That could be. Look, they're all going to be big, but that could be a real
home the Bows.
We're a home.
Yeah, it's a win. That's a win.
I do agree. I still think we'll win, but it'll be a lot.
It doesn't matter
if we're playing tomorrow.
If Pingu's managing them, if Ian Ryan's managing them, doesn't matter. Home win.
Okay, and the result in Sligo. I think it's got draw.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I just a draw. It won't matter, hopefully, but draw.
A draw, right? So 2 points.
Where are we now?
Going into the last run, if I'm correct on this, they'll pick up a point, but we'll get 2 points better off. Gives us a 4-point lead going into the last.
That's what you want. Get in.
So, judging by that, and I'm sure if we're wrong, people will let us know in the comments here. So, Pat might have a bit of momentum going into the next round of fixtures. And that's only if we only draw at in Ballybuffet. Anything better than a draw, I think we stay in control of this. But there's a scenario, if they pick up nothing in Tala, that they could be going all out to win in Sligo or they're out. There's a bit of pressure. Those 2 away games, the fact that we've only got 1 and it's up in Finn Harps, a draw or better, we're fully in control. We go and get that win early, lads, and that's pressure off on one of those 2 games at home then. How the hell are we in this right? Positive.
Right?
Oh my God, lads.
Yeah, it's such a. It's not where you want to be. Like, I mean, obviously it's where you want to be in the table, but it's just not the running you want. It's just not like even a draw tonight.
We're still building our hopes, lads, that we're in these last run of fixtures. We have to pick up 2 wins. We have to come out undefeated.
Yeah, Because I think we said we were talking about the 6 mini league. We were talking 4 wins, I think.
Yeah.
But that leave us on 3 wins. So it's not, it's not.
If we can pick up 2 wins, this whole mini league ends before the last run of fixtures.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what you want.
Yeah.
We'd
really
in the next 3 games, we could come out with 7 points, and they would only come out with 4.
That's the hope. Good night. you really don't want to be going to Derry of all teams looking for something. I mean, it would be unbelievable. The atmosphere, but you really don't want that.
Yeah, I already beat them up there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah. Can't beat UCD, like whatever.
Oh yeah, when somebody mentioned UCD and Drogheda to me tonight, it's like, oh my lord, how much further ahead we'd be of them if we were just taken care of. Shells, Drogheda,
UCD twice,
and UCD. It's like it's
UCD
absolutely
twice. They're the new Bray.
Yeah. So, without putting any extra pressure on our trip to Ballybuffet next week, it really, we cannot afford to lose that game.
Oh no, like that's, and I think it'll just, if we happen to lose that match, which I don't think we will, but if we happen to lose it, I think we could go on a very poor run then of the next 2 or 3 matches. I just don't think we'll claw back. I just think after tonight's sucker punch, that's the worry. That's just the worry. Just not enough games then if you lose.
That's the thing.
Now, obviously, if Pats blow up completely, but the chances of both teams being absolutely muck for the next 6 weeks or 4 or 5 weeks is going to be unlikely.
Like there's a Bulls team somewhere in there that can win a Dublin derby, things like that. There's also another one that just gets Jordan Flores sent off tonight and then lose to Drogheda. That's my fear, that they have nothing to play for, and we're playing a team that needs everything and any point they can get, and we all know Ollie at this time of the year, finds a way to grind out something. That's it could be gut wrenching for ourselves going into the third last fixture of the season, because I think Pats could be ahead of us, but I think then the next 2 fixtures favor ourselves, but we've got to get maximum points then if we don't beat Finn Harps.
Yeah, Finn Harps. Who would have thought?
We can if we just completely forget about Pat's results, because in spite of tonight, Pat's results don't matter.
Yeah,
but you're still saying that we've got to stay undefeated and we need 2 wins.
Yeah, and I know it sounds, after what we've seen and even the game that we've won in the last few weeks that we didn't exactly burn the house down in. All it takes is going to Finn Harps and winning. That's all this has to come down to. Now, the problem is that that's all it came down to tonight, was at home in Casey Field against Pats, and you win that game and you're done. You're home and hosed. But the tension just has to shift. The mentality has to shift now to Friday night. Have to look at it that Pats were in absolutely no way better than us tonight.
No.
They weren't better than us, but we lost. So we just pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and go again Friday night. We've just gone through past results. Past results from here on out do not matter if we take care of what we have to take care of. The problem is whether we have the confidence that we're going to be able to do that, whether we're going to score goals to do that. And I think the biggest thing then is, we've had that was a good performance tonight, but I don't think the Pats keeper made a save.
Yeah,
we played well.
Yeah, I was talking about Shep's not making a save. Good point. He's the Pats keepers are pretty much nothing to do either.
Yeah, and it's for all of the positives that you can take out of the performance tonight, the biggest negative is not being able to create chances and not be able to get shots on target. And we have say we won last week with, apart from the penalty that we scored, I think Wardy's shot from the halfway line was the only shot on target the whole night.
Yeah.
And then tonight, it's a bit of magic from Gally's kid that gets us back in the game. That's just the biggest worry, that they're not going to be able to get any goals. But we don't need to worry about past results. We just have to worry about winning on Friday night. That's it. And also make sure that Derry beat Treaty in the cup, so that they give them a chance to win the cup final.
Absolutely.
Biggest result of the season, that one.
Yeah, this list got longer, by the way. Well, look, as we start to wrap up the show tonight, we'll have a quick look at the table. It won't make great viewing for ourselves tonight. So Shamrock Rovers stay top on 66 points. Derry behind on 64. Then Dundalk on 56, a point behind is Pats. We're all level on games. Obviously, Shamrock Rovers still have their game in hand, playing on Sunday, I assume, because they played on Thursday. A gap back then of 11 points back to Sligo. Just picked up they pick up a win tonight. Must have.
Who?
I haven't even looked. That's what happened. Bulls behind on 42, then a gap back to Shelbourne 36, Drogheda on 34 after their win in Dalymount tonight, and Finn Harps and UCD remain 9th and 10th on 19 points. Nobody wants to give up anything at the end there. Lads, so we didn't do a man of the match competition, but I think just to give it possibly to Frank for creating that conundrum.
For passing 25 minutes of the podcast.
Yeah, for filling 25 minutes, Frank, for our fixture list and going through what the running could possibly be. We will gladly give over our Tony's Pizzeria competition to Frank Harlan tonight. At least, and he nailed his colours as well, I suppose, with putting up everything else for himself. But he has put down that we beat Harps, so he's gone early for his 3 points.
He's in with me. We're going to beat them.
Yeah, he's there on that. So let's hope that is exactly what.
He's in with a drunken fool that thinks they're going to be in Harps next week.
Look, it's getting interesting. And I suppose the fact that we're still a point ahead gives us something to play for going into these last fixtures. It's not great. From tonight, it still hurts.
It's a new day in 6 minutes.
Well, there we go. We'll take that. Thanks as always to Player Fit for our everybody's got it on tonight. Excellent. For the merchandise, I think the shop should be back up and running, or it will be if not. I think Jane had one of our hats tonight and said they were very warm, so we'll get them back in for Jane, the colder months and the last few. You're very welcome, Frank, by the way. He said thanks very much.
Buy chips and a drink and curry sauce as well. For the extras.
There you go. And thanks, as always, to Dundalk Village for the overall sponsorship of the podcast. Donal, since you're late on, you can end with this tonight. I'll give you a clue if you're struggling. I'm pretty sure it was the closing line in the program tonight.
Yes, I got it.
Go for it.
No podcast, no party.